Hark! It's the 87th Precinct podcast. This is the only podcast in the world dedicated to Ed McBain's 87th Precinct Mysteries, the genre-defining series of police procedural novels, which began in 1956 with Cop Hater and ended in 2005 with the novel Fiddlers. There were 55 books in the series, and today's podcast is all about book number 25, Hail, Hail, the Gang's All Here. To review the book, I'm joined by, well, the gang, such as Mr. Stephen, a good fellow, Royston,
Hello.
and Mr. Morgan, a swell guy, a real macaroni, Brown.
Hello.
My name is Paul Abbott, and this is my gang. So we're all wearing colourful sheepskin vests with our logo on, and nothing else. You know the drill. For all the info on the show, it's available on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And if you visit hark87podcast.blogspot.com, you can get access to a whole bunch of useful information about McBain and the stories and what we've covered so far. And what you should also do, if you need a primer on the early days of the series, is visit the website crimereads.com, which I'm sure many of you listening to this do, and you'll find an exclusive article written by me called The Magic of Ed McBain's 87th Precinct. So look it up. And if you leave a comment, make sure it makes sense. If you go and you can see there's some comments there, you might figure out what I'm talking about.
Did my last one not make any sense?
That was you, was it? Also, you could drop us a review or a rating on whichever podcast app you choose. And why not tell a friend or possibly enemy about us? You know. Thank you very much. On with the show.
You're being trolled online.
No, I wasn't. There was I'd hesitate to use the word pedant, but it's the right word.
Oh, right.
Talking about the definition of the word pulp.
Oh, right, yeah.
And while I agree with what they're saying, it doesn't take into account the broader picture of how the term has come to be used. So we'll leave it at that. It may be someone who listens to this who might actually start making an enemy.
Oh,
No,
no.
you don't want an enemy.
I don't want an enemy. I'm a nice guy.
You are.
Well, am I? Yes, I am. So, Hail, Hail, the Gang's All Here. Book number 25.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. 25, eh?
Yeah.
Nearly halfway.
I know, it's strange, isn't it?
Flying by.
25 is quite a significant number, really. So, do you feel like this book's a bit of a celebration, perhaps?
I think so, definitely. It feels like he's sort of putting a flag in the little kind of plateau he's reached to kind of mark at that point, hasn't he?
Yeah, so we'll get into why that's the case, what that feels like. It was quite an important time for McBain himself. It was 1971 that this book comes out, Hail, Hail, the Gang's All Here. And 1971's the year that Evan Hunter, Ed McBain, turns 45 years old. Mm-hmm. Also, at the same time, on the same day, P.G. Wodehouse turned 90 years old. And one of my favourite stories about McBain and Wodehouse's relationship is that on his 45th birthday, Wodehouse sent McBain a telegram saying, basically, "Today I am twice your age, but you remain twice the writer I am." Which, coming from Wodehouse...
That's high
cool,
praise
yeah.
indeed.
It's, you know, he's a titan of character and comedy, and, you know, so that's amazing. McBain apparently invariably used his highest term of respect when talking about Wodehouse, which was, he was a pro, which is nice. And there was a quote from Evan Hunter basically saying, "He did the most gracious thing I've ever known any man to do. He sent a telegram to my agement." My agent? Oh, I've ruined that. Sorry, Evan. It was such a nice story. He sent a telegram to his agent and said, "Please tell Evan that he's half my age and twice the writer I am." So it clearly meant a lot to him.
Yeah.
That's quite nice.
Lovely.
I like that little story from 1971, the year this book comes out. And before we get into the book specifically, other stuff that McBain, Evan Hunter, was doing in 1971, he had another book published under the Evan Hunter name called Nobody Knew They Were There, which is a good mysterious title for a good mysterious book, apparently. I have not read it, but it's. I read the précis of it today. It's now published by Mysterious Press, run by Otto Penzler of the Mysterious Bookshop. Hello to Otto and the bookshop. But apparently the story is told in a near future. Ooh. So
1972.
yeah, very, very near future. Depending on when you buy it. No, yeah. in a near future where political resistance has been stamped out.
Oof.
And a university professor and his students hire a guy called Sam Eisler to carry out a political assassination on a train.
Ooh, sounds great.
Sounds corking, doesn't it?
So they want it done on a...
Ticking a lot of boxes there.
The train sort of got you both to perk up. But apparently he doesn't want to do it on the train or at the station because it's too busy. So rather than do it there, he decides to do it by blowing up a bridge, thus taking out the train. You know, sort of scaling it up somewhat in the stakes. And of course, he falls in love with someone down the course of the story. But I don't know how it pans out, so it's quite mysterious.
What's it called?
It's called Nobody Knew They Were There.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, so it's now published under the Ed McBain Writing As name, when it was actually an Evan Hunter book.
Yeah.
And that was the only sort of literary thing that came out. There was 2 films based on his work. There was The Cry of the Cormoran, which we talked about on the last podcast, based on a horse's head in France. And also the French adaptation of 10+1, Sans Mobile Apparent, which I can't find a copy of on DVD, which is a real nuisance. But I would like to see. Got an Ennio Morricone score. Should be pretty good. Excellent. So that's basically what's happening in Evan Hunter world in 1971.
Busy boy.
Yes. If we start at the beginning then, what do we think of the dedication in this book?
Yeah, it was an interesting one, wasn't it?
I think I flew past that.
It's Evan apparently a bit miffed at not having been given an Edgar Award by the Mystery Writers of America.
No. He is it's the most sarcastic dedication in a book there's ever been. But I'm also taking it at face value that he thinks that there's 10 stories in here, and we will examine that, I think.
Yeah.
So he basically says it's dedicated to the mystery writers of America who, if they don't award it the Edgar for the best 10 mystery novels of the year, should have their collective mysterious heads examined. And I think, as always with Ed McBain, where it seems funny at first, and then you also think, no, he also means it, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's genuine annoyance in there, isn't there?
Who were these people, though? Like fellow writers, or...
Yeah, well, I mean, he tags it on with a definition of coercion, so he's trying to sort of put a tongue-in-cheek thing saying, I'm trying to convince you here, I know what I'm doing. Mystery Writers of America, it's an organisation that was founded in 1945 with the main founder member, I believe, was Anthony Boucher. But it was
also the sycophant.
He was the positive reviewer of Ed McBain's
enthusiast.
book.
Well, he must win it every year then, surely.
Did he ever win?
Well, I'll tell you all about it now. So the Edgar Awards are what the Mystery Writers of America give out every year for the best story, best short story, best film in the sort of mystery and suspense categories.
Yep.
And it's like a trade body for mystery writers, really.
Yeah.
Their slogan is "Crime doesn't pay enough."
Ah, like that. It's very clever.
Yes, snappy.
So, who won it in 1970? That's what I want to know.
The
year before he wrote this.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
I didn't look up who.
I'll tell you about McBain's background with it, because there's 2 things they do. They give out the Edgar Awards, but they also award someone the Grand Master for like lifetime achievement and consistency. So McBain was nominated for Best Short Story in 1957 for a story called The Last Spin, which is one of his ones that's often collected into different volumes. It's available in Learning to Kill now. And he was also nominated for his motion picture screenplay in 1964 for The Birds.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't win, obviously. That's why I said nominated. But he did win Best Novel in 2002. So he had to wait quite a long time. So that was for Money, Money, Money.
Wow.
But in 1986, he was made the Grand Master.
Right.
Well, rightly so.
So it's quite a high accolade for a mystery writer or crime writer, suspense writer to receive that.
Yeah, they probably want you to be old before you get that, regardless of the quality of your output.
Yeah, even with 25 books to your name.
Yeah, it's like, well, you're only in your 50s or 40s, then forget it.
Probably.
So yeah, I should have really... all the information about previous winners is online, and I should have looked it up.
Yeah. Well, perhaps we might, and we can talk about it in a bit.
Did look up who won in 1971 when
the year that this book was.
When this
that's
didn't
good enough.
win.
We'll take
that'll
that.
do.
So some corkers,
All right, okay.
including the Laughing Policeman,
All right, cool.
Martin Beck series.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Excellent story.
Beyond This Point are Monsters by Margaret Miller, which is one I haven't read, but
Yeah, she's good. Yeah,
big fan of Margaret Miller. The Hot Rock by Donald Westlake.
Oh,
was
brilliant!
winner
Yeah, that's
that
great.
year.
Yeah.
And then a couple I've not
Stiff
heard
competition.
of. Autumn of the Hunter by Pat Stadley.
Nope.
Many Deadly Returns by Patricia Moyes.
I've seen the name. I don't know.
Yeah, me
so did
too.
they give 10 a year then? Did they?
I don't know if there's a set number, but they seem to give out like a few in each category, I think. So it's not just one thing that wins. And The Hound, the Fox and the Harper by Sean Heron, apparently. All won in
Hound,
71.
a fox and a heron.
It's very crowded, that one, isn't it?
Like a Disney cartoon.
Crime animal crossover. You can see why that did well.
But yeah, so some good winners there, but McBain not among them.
No, despite we probably disqualified himself by putting in a sarcastic dedication in the book.
This is somewhat, yeah. You'd
Probably all the
imagine so.
other judges just did it out of spite for Boucher, so he didn't get his way every year.
I think that's possibly my favourite dedication in a book so far.
It's
Really,
a good one,
given
yeah.
that most of them are just two sort of friends and
Yeah.
things like that. That's the first time he's sort of gone, look, come here, you lot. I think I've written 10 amazing stories in here. And before we get onto those stories, we all know where the title "Hail, Hail, the Gang's All Here" comes from.
Oh, I feel like I should.
Trumpton.
Trumpton.
No.
Don't introduce Trumpton into the mix at this.
Obviously, McBain's
Well, there's a bit of a
referencing
gang
Trumpton.
in that. All the fire brigade. Oh, no, that's
Hugh-
Camberwick Green,
Hugh,
isn't it?
Barney McGrew, Cuthbert, Dibble and Grubb.
Yeah.
I
Camberwick
can't remember where it comes from.
It was,
No.
Well, I shall fill you in on that fact as well. It's a song. Okay, so it was a song that was written in 1917 by Theodora Morse, who also used the pseudonym D.A.S.Rom,
Okay.
which I think was to sort of disguise as a female writer of popular song, and possibly to split the credit between the music and the lyric crediting. Based on a tune by Arthur Sullivan, who did Pirates of Penzance.
Indeed.
It was with his tunes from Pirates of Penzance, anyway. And it was just a popular sort of song, quite popular in the wartime.
Right, as in, hail, hail, the gang's all here.
That's the fella.
Yep.
That's the one. Which in the sheet music is listed, "Hail, hail, the gang's all here. What the deuce do we care?" And I think "deuce" is written in small D-E-U-C-E is written in small letters as a sort of substitute for hell, basically. I think because I don't think they would have published it with hell in the lyrics. But basically, yeah, a song about a bunch of mates getting together and having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, the official chorus is "Hail, hail, the gang's all here. What the deuce do we care? What do the deuce do we care? Hail, hail, the gang's all here. What the deuce do we care, Bill?" Quite who this Bill they're addressing it to is I don't know who that is. It's never made clear.
The lousy Bill trying to make people care about the gang being there.
Yeah.
Bill.
Yeah.
Just don't care, Bill.
I have shared on our Twitter feed actually today of the day of recording, which for fact fans is the 21st of May 2019, a YouTube of someone playing the wax cylinder of a recording of this song. So you can find it. It's very well known actually. It was quite a popular song in that sort of between the wars. Anyway, so that's where he's got this idea from for writing a book where he brings in everyone, more or less.
Yep.
What do we think of the format? Any ideas, thoughts?
Well, different, I suppose.
Yeah. He's abandoned the single main narrative idea.
Well, he's got chapter names, which must be an absolute first, or part names.
Yeah, he's divided it into two.
Nightshade
and Daywatch sound like a heavy metal band, doesn't it?
You get used to either a single narrative or a couple of intertwining ones. So what he tends to do every time that the format starts to get a little familiar or predictable, he's just pulled out a totally different format just to mess with us all.
Well, we had the one where there was 3 short stories.
Yeah, so those were separate, self-contained.
Yeah, which book was that?
That was The Empty Hours.
But this is different in respect that it's got Well, I don't know. Half a dozen, or maybe is it 5 if you say there's 10 intertwined stories in each half?
Just telling the story of a kind of composite story of an entire day in the precinct.
Yeah, some more serious, some more throwaway and a bit daft. But showing a wide range of activities of what they get up to in a typical day.
A few substantial plot lines, and then also some little kind of vignettes of either slightly mildly comic bits or...
But yeah, I think it was better done somehow, or it works better than the empty hours in which...
Yeah, because they stand sort of distinct sort of little vignettes, don't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
This is much more of a back in the precinct, the hustle and bustle of the night shift, the day shift, and everyone basically being in it, more or less.
Yeah, and then, sometimes you're like, right, who on earth are these people after now? I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
It was quite well done, different.
Yes.
And I'm not sure he ever returned. Does he do this again?
Not really, I don't think so.
I can't think of another example, but...
he does mess with format. He continues to mess with format
now
and again in the series as it continues, but nothing like this, I don't think, where he's got a handle on a whole swathe of detectives we've never come across before, or we've only ever seen mentioned in passing or something, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's only 2 chapters in the entire book, isn't there?
Yeah, so it falls into 2 sections. It starts with the night watch and then moves into the day. And if I just give you a sort of bit of information about the publication history of it, obviously it came out in 1971, number 25. It was published and serialised in various forms as well. There was a version of it in Argosy magazine. We do like Argosy magazine. That's featured a lot of
copies of that.
I've not got a copy, but I'll give you the contents to have a look at in a minute.
Yeah, always enjoy that.
So in November 1971, so that was after the publication of the actual book, there was a version of it in there. It was also... The Nightshade part of it was featured in Ellery Queen's Mystery magazine in August of 1970. And also the Star Weekly from Canada, that's cropped up the last couple of books we've looked at, published the Day Watch version in early 71 as well. So, because I know Stevo does like to have a look at this...
Was this Argosy?
The contents for Argosy. He'll tell you what was in that episode of Argosy magazine.
Or there'll be all sorts.
That this was in. So the top half of this page, Stevo, if you could run down the contents.
Bivouacking with the Duke of Edinburgh. Something like that.
It's not far off.
Atlantis, the legend is becoming fact. It's not even...
So someone was building Atlantis at the time?
Well,
there is convincing new evidence of an incredible lost civilization which sank in the Atlantic 12,000 years ago.
No, there isn't.
Spoiler.
Try the desert country for snowmobiling.
And I may not.
No.
But thanks for the tip.
The world's most popular cartridges. Now, we
ink
know...
Cartridges.
Yeah, we know it does mean ink, don't we?
Is it just all
6
types of
out of every 10 shots fired are rim fires.
Sounds
a bit rude, that, doesn't it? Watchdog for justice. Fingerprints don't lie. Like that.
Well, they factor into quite a lot of these stories, actually, the fingerprints.
And then there's quite an interesting one here. Fiction digging in at Morgan's farm.
There we go.
There we are. Cropped up again in the tales, Morgan.
Yeah, it must be fiction. The army sent them off to war, but it didn't know that 2 of its soldiers had a mission all of their own.
Exciting.
Full-colour illustration by Fred Ontz.
Oh, now I'm sold.
Yeah, well,
Good
there
old
we
Fred.
go. Yeah, that's all really. So Duke of Edinburgh bivouacking and...
Yeah, it's very, very outdoorsy, isn't it? Very mannish.
Pottery with... Edward Heath, they'd be in there.
Perhaps the British edition, yeah.
Yeah.
The Ellery Queen's Mystery magazine issue that featured it as well had stories by people such as Nicholas Freeling, a Van der Valk story.
That's the absolute hot topic with me at the moment, that.
And I still haven't watched any Van der Valk.
Oh, we'll talk about it at some point.
Yeah, off mic.
Well, I don't know. I'll have to get it in.
I just thought you'd be interested to know that he was in that same issue. A story by John Dixon Carr and a number of other names. They feature tons. God, the amount of fiction they published these things, it's amazing, really. I will just say also for our regular listeners, we've skipped the what was going on in 1971 section where we talk about film and music and infrastructure. I'm going to save that for the bonus episode because I just feel the book's got
there's quite a lot to get stuck into, isn't there?
To go through, really.
By popular demand, we're not going to spend 10 minutes guessing which bridge was built.
Not in the main podcast, anyway.
But,
10 minutes, optimistic.
Yeah, in half an hour we will. But,
Editing's a very powerful tool.
Carry on.
No.
I was just saying carry on.
Well, all right, I will then. I took the idea that there was 10 plots in this, or 10 stories in this, and tried to figure it out.
Are you right?
Well,
I spotted 9, I think, but...
Well, you've been counting.
Oh, no, I didn't. I spotted 8.
Well, I spotted 9, I think, are main stories, and I spotted another 5 that I think are featured. As I was trying to work out, if he was sort of saying it's 10 stories, are they ones where the detectives have gone out and investigated? Because there's a lot of stuff happens in this where it's just patrolmen bringing people into the precinct and people being processed at the desks of the detectives.
Yeah, I kind of wasn't counting those.
Yeah, so they're in my list of possible cases for the 10th spot in this.
So which are your 10 then?
Okay.
I would like to know that. Taking Nightshade first.
Oh, I don't know if I've got them in correct order. Sorry.
Taking them in mixed up order.
Well, there's the Mercy Howell killing is the first one, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
It opens with the stabbing of a dancer.
Correct. 1.
I have then the bombing of the storefront church.
Yep.
So there's
definitely in there.
A bomb thrown through the window of a church.
That's correct.
I've got Mrs. Gorman and the ghosts.
There's the ghost story in this. We must come back to that.
Yep.
I then have the murder of Lewis Scott, which is in the second part of the book. He's thrown out of a window.
Yep.
I also have a shooting of the store owner and Detective Andy Parker.
Ooh, yes,
so
indeed.
There's some high-stakes police violence on police. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but Parker's ploy of putting himself on a plant in a grocery store not paying off quite so well this time.
No. What else have you got down there, Morgan?
I've got the mugged corporal in the Marines.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got an assault on a guy called Jose Huerta.
Gets his legs broken, that guy.
Yeah, pretty much on his own doorstep.
And I have 2 missing person cases in my list. Penelope Blair, the girl, the daughter of someone, and Donald Ellingham, the husband of someone.
Ah, yeah, I forgot about him.
So that's 9.
Yeah. So those are the ones that actually have investigations happening, or something happens where it's not just a one-off paragraph or block of activity in the station. Even if an investigation doesn't have to happen in the case of Donald Ellingham, because this woman comes in and she's really worried about where her husband is, and Arthur Brown's saying, look, I will look into it, I'll come and see you later. And by the time he gets there, he's got to interrupt them mid rumpy pumpy, as they said in the 70s. They are making up.
Yes.
So he doesn't really have to investigate that one, but he does have to follow it up, which is why I have it on my main list of 10.
Good point. Yeah, that definitely counts.
And then there's loads of ones that are basically the patrolmen bring in, such as one of the first ones in the book is an 18-year-old kid who's been breaking off aerials off cars, and he's brought in for criminal mischief or whatever it is. Yep. There's a pervert in the park trying to get kids to pay him attention, which I believe the law describes as endangering the morals of a child. That's a seedy little section.
Yes.
There's a burglar who comes in, who's caught breaking into someone else's house, has a bag full of tools, and then sort of says, "But I'm a carpenter." He gets short shrift.
He certainly does.
And then there's a bit like in See Them Die, there's a little sequence with 2 prostitutes and a businessman who's visiting the city, a big fat businessman.
Yeah.
It's very much like the 2 girls and the fat businessman in See Them Die. And he wants them, except in this case, he wants them done for prostitution. And they talk him out of it. So, really, it's just about his wounded pride.
It very much is.
Then, the only other one, which is the most violent one in the entire book, is only a paragraph or two. Have you spotted that one?
Was that this is the woman who kills her husband with a
cleaver? Yeah, her husband and her children.
And her children, of course, yes.
Yeah, I forgot about that, yeah.
So it's an amazing thing of that could be the main story for a whole book, but she's just come in, or she's confessed to what she's done, basically, and she said, I've stabbed my husband in the face, smashed my children in the face, they're all dead, the little bastards. Essentially is what she said.
More or less, yeah.
And they're just sort of like, what?
Yeah, best get the DA.
Yeah. So that's it. I get 14 stories out of that, but I don't know which one of those last few I would promote to my main 10. You see, no, I've set myself.
Perhaps you just thought four little tiddlers made one.
Yeah,
that's where he got his 10 from.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't being totally accurate in the 10 stories.
Yeah.
Maybe
there must be 10 in here after he'd finish it.
I'm applying a system retrospectively that isn't necessary. But it's a lot of stories, whatever it is.
There's a heck of a lot going on.
Even if they play out quickly, or they run for a little bit longer. I think it's brilliant. And I like it because of the amount of new to us, characters in it, detectives. Names we've seen once or twice, perhaps on
popping up on a duty roster or something like that.
That sort of thing. Or maybe just in absolutely, literally in passing in one thing as someone who's clocking on when they're clocking off or something like that.
Yeah, it seems a bit, knowing that these guys don't really crop up again, it seemed a bit sad almost, because they seem quite interesting.
One or two of them.
The Capek guy seemed quite...
Yeah, one or two of them do crop up again, but not very often.
Seemed incredibly similar to Corella, I thought, Capek, didn't he?
So he's one of the main ones who has things to do in this. Carl Capek, or Capek, I don't know how you pronounce it. He's got a few investigations going on.
And all the guys get all holding off their holidays, and some of those names we've seen before. Well, one of those guys, there's a detective first grade a big hairy man, mild-mannered hairy guy.
Yeah,
and you just think,
you want to know more about him?
Yeah, detective first grade in his early 60s. He'd be like somebody totally different to the rest.
He's called Merriweather. That's his name. Yeah. He's described as a mild-mannered hairbag.
Yeah, I thought, why can't we have some more of him? He sounds
a whole spin-off series on mild-mannered hairbag Merriweather.
Yeah, so you're just getting a glimpse of these other guys. And DeMao, is it? Or
DeMao.
DeMao.
I don't know how you pronounce that actually now. I say Mayo. M-A-E-O, DeMao.
Yeah.
He's one that's been mentioned a few times before, but in this one he's brought in off his holiday, and all he does is moan, just moans about everything. He moans about being brought in off his holiday, which you can understand. Yeah. He moans about the fact that Corella and Brown solved the shooting of Andy Parker and the store owner, and he's like, I bet they get promotions now. If you do something with a cop, you'll get promotion, which of course they don't.
They're all whinging because none of them like Parker though, do they? even these guys.
Yeah. It's not like when Corella's shot in some of the earlier stories, and everyone's like, "We're going to go out there and get him," or even in Cop Hater in the first book, where it's like. Everyone's it's Andy Parker. They're like, he survived. So, but yeah, we get Cooperman, detectives Cooperman, Delgado, Finch, Capek, Levine, and Merriweather, as well as DeMao.
Well, DeMao and Delgado have definitely been mentioned before, haven't they?
I think so.
I'm sure they have. Capek, is he?
I think he was a name on the duty roster as well.
So perhaps he just. I don't know.
Well, it's good that he's gone back and used these names rather than come up with a whole bunch of new ones.
But shame they don't crop up again much.
Well, there could be there's a whole alternative 87th Precinct set of stories happening, isn't there?
Yeah.
When Corella clocks off for the day, and
you just write about just write about the other guys, and one of those Capek could be your main guy.
Occasionally reference something that would have happened contemporaneously with the other guys.
It's nice to imagine it's there. It's a whole. The reality of the thing is, even though these stories don't actually exist, they could exist because this is the nature of how police work happens and how the detective squad's arranged, and the reality of shift working. Talking about shift working, of all the charts and things in the books that you get, one of the most complicated charts, the patrolman's schedules in this book.
I didn't even attempt to get my head around it, I must confess.
I had a bit of a look of it, and I'm a big fan of complicated charts, but it's complicated.
It looks like one of those things you used to use for working out logarithms or something.
It is daunting.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
If anyone can reckon that out, it's in the first part. Well, it's the first part, page 84 in our book. And it's, very complicated explanation of when patrolmen are in and who's in. Which, given that the stories aren't really about patrolmen, he puts quite a lot of detail into explaining this as well. Although we do get quite a few patrolmen in this one who are named as well. Normally when I write my little list of who's in an 87th Precinct story, it's a list of detective names and then loads of unnamed patrolmen, but most of them are named in this. You get a double hit of homicide detectives as well.
Oh, you do.
Because they're on shifts too.
Yeah.
Forbes, they've been in it before as well, haven't they?
They have, once. Yeah. I think they've been in it once before and they crop up a couple more times as well.
Just to keep up the idea that all pairs of homicide detectives are essentially exactly the same.
Yeah. So it's writ larger because you've got Monaghan and Monroe at the start of the book and then Forbes and Phelps halfway through. And he's basically like, do they just share clothes? These people turn up, they're exactly the same. But that's when they have, at the start of the investigation with newly promoted Dick Gennaro.
Oh.
And he's out with Hal Willis.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of my absolute favourite things in this book is their relationship.
Yeah.
Gennaro's...
He's totally useless, isn't he?
He's great.
I like his totally irrelevant, pointless questions he asks as well.
The sequence when he becomes sort of dopily aware that Hal Willis is doing some clever police work, and he's just kind of sitting there like he's watching a film.
Yeah. When they go to the clothes shop owners, and like Hal's asking a load of questions, and just one of the questions he asks is it a jacket or a coat? That's not that has any relevance to anything at all. Yeah. And then they start the clothes shop owners start a long conversation with him about whether and Hal's just sat there thinking, doesn't matter.
And because he's newly promoted, and he's really proud about being a detective, Dick Gennaro, it's funny because he's not particularly outwardly egotistical, but he likes to lord it over like the patrolmen.
Yeah,
so suddenly, even though he's younger than these patrolmen, he started calling them kid and things like that. And you can bet you'd be rubbing everyone up the wrong way with his attitude.
Well, he was an incompetent patrolman, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, he shot himself in the foot.
Yeah.
And got a promotion out of it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's brilliant the way the sequence where they're actually sort of apprehending two of a criminal and his accomplice essentially at the end, and Hal Willis has to do a bit of action stuff to prevent someone running away, and Gennaro's literally like he says he wished he had a bag of popcorn. He wanted to ask the other person in the room if they were enjoying it as much as he was.
Yeah, it's amazing. Gennaro felt great. He felt as though he were watching a cops and robbers movie on television. He didn't want it to end ever.
And there's also a lovely sequence where they go when they interview someone who lives in one of these blocks of flats where one of the incidents has happened, and it's a larger lady, and they're talking to her, and he's by virtue of his politeness, he says to this woman, Dick Gennaro says, "Thanks a lot, though, you've been very kind." And this woman smiles at him in such a way that's like so radiant, so happy, and so nice. It almost knocked Gennaro clear across the hallway to the opposite wall, and he's sort of going, "What did I do? I don't know what I did. What did I say? And he's trying to ask Hal Willis. It's like, what was that? He's perhaps been a little bit unaware that he might be a young, good-looking Italian cop as well. And he just doesn't. He's just so lacking in self-awareness.
He's adorably clueless. I think I really enjoy him in his new role.
Yeah, and he doesn't really get any better.
No, he really doesn't.
So that's nice, and I like the fact that it's Hal Willis that he's partnered up with, a sort of a cop who we really haven't had that much stuff from so far, but he's a sort of dependable character.
Yeah, there was a couple of was there some fairly early ones with him.
Yeah, he's had his odd moments, but not loads.
He has a big run in the 80s, doesn't he?
He really comes into his
own.
own.
The main guy, pretty much for about Yeah, for a good half dozen. Yeah, so he comes back strongly, I would say. And then Bob O'Brien obviously cropping up.
Bob O'Brien manages to get away without killing anyone in the line of duty in this one, which is nice for him.
When are we going to talk about the Dutch ghosts?
I think, now you've brought it up, I think it's time to talk about the Dutch ghosts.
It'd be rude not to, really.
This is one of the weirdest things.
I was reading this, I instantly remembered what had happened, but I thought, has he done this in another book as well, a similar... I don't know.
Well, he wrote a book called Ghosts.
I know he did, but anyhow, but yeah, I thought it lasted longer.
So Maya gets the rather bizarre case of someone turning up and saying there's ghosts robbing jewellery from my house, and she seems like she should be a sane person, and it makes him recall that not long ago they'd had a thing where a woman kept saying that a gorilla was coming to her house, and he was having to ring around zoos to find out if there was escaped gorillas. And the woman claims that he came back the next day wearing a cane and a top hat or something like that.
Yeah.
So he thinks this woman's a nut. Oh, that's brilliant. I wonder how realistic it is in the world of police work.
Well, in his defence, he only went because of who her father was, didn't she?
Yeah.
Didn't he? So, yeah, some retired judge.
Yeah, so evidently holds sway somewhere along the way.
But yeah, we don't want to give away the outcome of that.
It's such a strange thing. There is genuinely a ghost story in this.
Yeah.
In as much as any story about ghosts is genuine.
Yeah. How do you know they're Dutch? Well, they talk Dutch.
But of all the things that happen in this book, this slice of one day's routine of shifts, the fact that Maya ends up with having to go out at quarter to 2 in the morning to see if some ghosts exist, and turns up and the person they're plaguing turns out to be blind, having been affected by a chemical spillage. Like something
nasty.
out of Marvel.
Yeah, like yeah, very Daredevil, isn't it?
That's it, Daredevil. Yeah.
It all pans out all right, just about.
Yeah, more or less. What's interesting, my little list of the various crimes that happen in this, I wrote little asterisks by the ones that actually have a resolution. Because there's a number of these where either they can't do anything, like the woman whose husband comes back, and the missing girl who's old enough to just be missing. Yeah. She doesn't have to go home. Yeah. So there's no resolution to them. There's the ones where they obviously make an arrest or charge someone. And then there's at least a couple where they're just like, just let it go.
Which are those?
Well, essentially the one with the prostitutes and the big fat businessman.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like they convince him not to take it further.
Yeah, they certainly...
It has a resolution though, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It gets them out of the precinct and out of there. But there's the assault of Jose Huerta by his...
Oh, yeah.
Possibly by his
business partner's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason they give as to why someone might beat this guy up, and they're talking to Detective Delgado, and this guy just confesses. They're in a bowling alley, aren't they? And Delgado makes the call of like, maybe justice has been served, which is a really interesting moral thing for a cop to do. It doesn't portray Delgado as being a bad cop.
No.
But he makes a sort of judgment call.
Pragmatic cop, maybe.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You don't always have a Corella character being like, well, this is the law, this is how it is. Because I'm not sure Corella would let that outcome happen.
No, probably not. I mean, we've seen him occasionally sort of take a slightly pragmatic approach in terms of things like dealing with prostitutes and things like that. There are certain things.
He does make some judgment calls.
Yeah, he is occasionally capable of just sort of overlooking things. But I know what you mean. It's quite a big one, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think then with this book, have we got all the classic McBain things in it, even though it's not a classic type of 87th Precinct story, end to end?
Well, if your test is the 87th Precinct bingo card...
Which it always is.
With handwriting...
Reproductions of handwriting and forms there and there.
Which, regardless of the perpetrator, are all fairly similar. Have you noticed that of the books?
Yes.
It's as though... Anyway. So it would score highly, but then he's quite unorthodox in very other elements. But yeah, it has...
There's definitely stuff about weather. Yeah. It's October, it's cold. Not masses of it, though. But there's a couple of little reflections on the day, I think, and the night.
There was these... I found it before, which I knew I'd seen it somewhere. He's a literary reference, because the guy who goes missing... and this can't be a coincidence. Donald E. Ellingham.
Oh yes,
there's no way he would have called him Donald E. By chance, is there?
A little tip of the hat to a fellow author there.
Yeah.
As well, there's not masses of real world references in here. One or two though.
The Arthur Miller reference.
Yeah.
The price.
Do you know anything about the price?
I glanced at Wikipedia. It doesn't make it sound very enthralling, I must admit. Play, as far as I can gather, about someone selling off some furniture in the Depression.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of bleak. Won the Tony Award in 1968. Produced for TV in early 71, so it was probably fairly... well,
it would have been a New York play as well, won't it?
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, it is literally about the price of furniture, I think, so it's probably quite literal.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix gets mentioned at some point,
the other thing. That's something that we haven't had.
Watchtower, yeah.
We've never really had that before. I think there's been one or two music references, and they've always been sort of, in our terms, perhaps, been sort of quite old school, more sort of
Tin Pan Alley kind of songs.
Tin Pan Alley, perhaps a bit of early sort of jazz stuff.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden it's Jimi Hendrix in 1971. Yeah.
Doing... And he also says it was Hendrix rendering All Along the Watchtower, so he acknowledges that it's not a Hendrix song. He's doing a version of it.
Indeed.
Which is correct, of course. I like them, so some nice little bits and pieces. So that's sort of real
Stool
world
pigeons, Tick Tick. There's both of those.
Fats Donner.
Always super sceptical about when they crop up, generally.
You mean just as a mechanism?
Pigeon would be able to track down a stolen Volkswagen in the whole of a city the size of New York.
Well, I mean, but Fats Donner's quite sceptical about his ability to do that as well, isn't he?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, yeah, sometimes they do feel like a means to an end.
Bit of a plot.
A bridge.
A way to... Christ, how are they going to find this Volkswagen in less than a month of searching?
Yeah, in a book where we can only assign them like this many pages because we've got another 9 plots to...
I'm being picky there, but
No, but I think it's right. I think he does use them, those characters, for that purpose.
Yeah, I suppose they're just a device, aren't they? I suppose, yeah.
Because otherwise, you'd be writing James Ellroy style, massive Gothic opuses, wouldn't you?
You'd have to, go back and edit out all your non-essential words to kind of get it down to under 1,000 pages.
Yeah, and let it take place over decades or whatever. There was an article, interview with James Ellroy in The Guardian this past week.
Just saw it,
which is brilliant because he basically says the only books he likes reading are Ed McBain's 87th Precinct novels.
He reads the entire series in order over and over again, doesn't he, apparently?
Does he? Yeah.
We should get him to listen to this.
How old is he now? He must be...
be a good age now. He's been writing a long time now. But yeah, there's a new novel out, hasn't he? I think.
Yeah, so I think that's why he's suddenly doing all these interviews and stuff.
Yeah, not a fan of Chandler, but a big fan of McBain still.
I can sort of understand that from reading Ellroy.
Yeah,
his type of stuff. And Chandler, when you think about it too much, it is quite odd, really. But that's private eye characters.
Yeah,
generally speaking, it's a different way of approaching humanity. I think
definitely McBain's got more of a precedent for that sort of like tough, fun, sentimental kind of police writing, isn't it? And he mentioned Joseph Wambo as well.
Yes,
which I thought was that made a lot of sense.
And I also coincidentally I read something with McBain was talking about other authors, and he says I generally don't read other writers because I'm the best. except for Joseph Wambert, who has experience I don't have because he was a cop. Basically,
excellent.
If on the subject of egos, yeah. The one thing that is missing from this book is there's very little mention of family. There's no Teddy Corella.
No.
There's no scenes at home with anyone.
Yeah, I suppose he just hasn't really given himself sort of time or space to look into that. It's very focused on the squad and what's going on there, isn't it?
There is one strange reference, though. At one point, Arthur Brown is thinking back to when he was dating his wife-to-be. But in this book, he calls her Connie. But his daughter's Connie, his wife's Caroline. As the precedent has been set in other stories. So I don't really know what's going on there.
Oh, what's a blunder.
Authors can do it. Conan Doyle got mixed up with how many times Watson had been married, didn't he? You know,
and you'd think that was quite easy to keep track
kind
of.
Really fundamental. Yeah. So the only way you can make sense of it is he was married twice, and yeah, you don't know the name of one of his wives. It's just so yeah, it happens, doesn't it?
I can retrofit it by thinking of Connie as being like a nickname for Caroline because it starts with the same letter. And then they adopted that for their kid as a nice...
That's almost definitely exactly what it is, isn't it?
That's how I'm choosing to square it.
Brilliant. Is that when he's trying to fish the mask out the drain?
Oh,
nice little scene, that.
Yeah, like that.
I like the old little lady he'd been to see before. It was full of useful information.
Oh, yeah, she was great.
Yeah. So again, witnesses. Yeah. There's no out and out comedy character in this.
A lot of witnesses in this, wasn't there? Yeah.
None of the kind of absolute eccentrics that you sometimes get other, but
no.
There's still some decent little character portraits, I think, along the way.
Yeah, there is. And I think that's what this book's all about. It's portraits in miniature of detectives, of the people they meet, of the situations they find themselves in, that sort of thing. I'll just read to you just a quote from one review at the time, from the New York Times, in fact, from the Criminals at Large column. I know it's not Anthony Boucher. He's gone by
Anthony Boucher, this is the greatest book I've ever read in my life. Until next year. Yeah.
Well, basically this review says, another skillful writer who has been writing essentially the same book for a long time is Ed McBain.
Well, might take issue with that.
In Hail, Hail, the Gang's All Here, he attempts a tour de force, taking the men of the 87th Precinct through some 24 hours of assorted police work. The night shift has a murder, a problem about ghosts, a racial bombing, a multiple murder, all unrelated, all solved on the same shift. Great cops. Sounds a bit sarky. That's sarcastic for people who don't know what that means, not the author Sarky, otherwise known as H.H. Munro. The day shift has, among other things, a murder, a robbery and killing, a missing person, and assault case. These two are solved on the same shift. Great cops. Oh, he's really ramming that home. McBain has the police routine down very well, and he writes about it in a sober, unsentimental style. But this particular McBain novel is too superficial, slick, and tricky. He can do better.
Must try harder.
Yeah,
6 out of 10. See me.
Very much so. That was reviewed by the man who I think whose name we've talked about before is a guy called Newgate Calendar.
Newgate Calendar.
Well, if you're going to take the opinion of anyone called Newgate Calendar seriously, I pity you.
That sounds like something you'd buy in a gift shop.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a calendar with the months, back to front. Well,
we should really think.
I don't know. Yeah,
think about our opinion of it and consider what.
Well, I don't think it's perfect and nor the best.
No.
So, but it is very interesting. So I would. Certainly have certain sympathy. I suppose when you start to describe, but not all crimes are like totally baffling and take weeks to sort out. It was, there was. Part of this where lots are just presented at the squad room by patrolmen or a fairly open and shut cases kind of thing.
Not everything is going to be some kind of months-long head-scratcher, is it?
No, and you've got some guys who've held up a shop, but if they've discarded their masks and have already got a record, it's not rocket science to apprehend them fairly quickly, is it?
Yeah. Absolutely. On the subject of basically recommendability That's a word I've just made up, I think. For a first-time reader, would you give them Hail, Hail, the gang's all here?
Well, you could. You would have to caveat it in that they're not all like this, but if this whets your appetite...
It would certainly drop them kind of properly right into the world of the 87
It's
Precinct,
like a sampler, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how I think of it. I think
it's like a mixtape of...
As long as you don't become really sort of keen on Capek or Delgado and discover
I can't wait to find out everything that happens to Capek.
And I honestly think when I was reading it, you were thinking, it's a shame these guys don't crop up again.
Yeah.
And it does miss a bit of an overarching or, where on earth is this going kind of... Because you by its very nature, you knew they were going to be wrapped up reasonably quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have that you get from some of the others, but... Yeah.
Then I think that should bring us on to our overall summing up and entering our information into Kenneth.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I refuse to do that without consulting the printout.
I will. If you could perhaps précis the last few for the listeners, Stevo.
Well, we're on a... We've been on a... If you equalise it all out, a slight downward trend from beginning to this current point.
Yeah.
If one averages the spread there.
Yeah, I suppose.
But we've had 2 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In 5 of the last books, we have had the lowest and 2 of the highest. So you can tell we're in a period of fluctuation in terms of
fluctuation.
The highs are high and the
what
one
were
low
those
is low.
High scores and
the high score was it Doll? Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
And was it Fuzz?
Yeah.
And the low was 80 million billion eyes.
80 trillion eyes.
But whereas the first 15 or so are very solid, then they've got a little bit more erratic. But anyway, it'd be very interesting from henceforth anyway. And yeah, probably the average is about 74, 75 there, I would say.
Okay.
Fair enough. Well, Morgan, then, you can do your summing up, if you would, and award your Kenneth-style points value.
Okay, well, I mean, for all whatever Newtown Colander or whatever he's called says about superficiality and everything, I kind of understand. But I thought it was an absolute corker, really. I think there's very much to enjoy. It may be superficial. It doesn't have quite the sort of depth of plotting you sometimes get with these things, but it's so much fun. Loads of interest, loads of great characters. I think it's not the absolute best, but it's in the sort of the upper tier. Definitely, I'm gonna go in with a solid score of I think 82 police shields. 82
from Morgan. Stevo.
Well, I have already summarised it, didn't I? So, I jumped the gun with me summarising.
That's fine.
But I do agree, probably 78.
78. Okay, and now I have to give my score. And I will say in my summary for it that when I was reading this, and I was reading it a little bit at home, a little bit on the way to work, on the bus and stuff like that, and I was just having a great time reading it. It's really enjoyable to read.
It is.
You're entirely right. It doesn't have any depth of plotting whatsoever because it's not that type of book. Yep. But it is like having a really special episode of a TV show or a really good sampler of a record label where you sort of think, well, everything in here could be brilliant in and of itself. And I'm enjoying just seeing this weird combination of mix of stuff as well.
Yep.
So I'm going to go in exactly the same as Morgan with 82.
Marvellous.
Well. So that gives us, once Kenneth has done his calculations, and we round down when we use Kenneth because otherwise the cogs don't work.
God almighty.
We round down.
Never heard.
A score of 80 police shields.
Well, 80. Well, upper quartile, that definitely.
Yeah.
Good.
It would be one I would hand out like a little sampler to people and say, this could be yours.
If someone was to ask me, what on earth are you yammering about on that podcast? I'd be quite happy to hand them this and go, this is it.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, we return next time with...
Which one is it next time?
Well, much more back to the usual format with Sadie When She Died.
Oh, yeah.
There was some... Well, I can't even describe the faces. I think it was both anticipation. Oh, God, it's a good one. Or is it? We will explain next time we talk to you. Unless the next thing you listen to is our bonus episode where we'll talk about the book covers for Hail, Hail, the Gang's All Here. We'll talk about 1971 in general and about who you'd cast for Detective Arthur Brown. And we'll see you in a little bile. Oh dear. Right to the end before I said anything completely stupid. We will see you in a little while, hopefully entirely free of a little bile. So I'm going to say goodbye and just shut up. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Fairly well.